Hello, this is Lou Dolphin here for Sentinels of the Multiverse Weekly One-Shot number 71. Terminal Exception. As far as the technicians in the security station knew, it was a Monday like any other. Routine system upgrades in the morning, a quick lunch, maybe a foosball game if everything went well. The new analyst, Kim Powell, was along today to observe their work. The glow of the monitors reflected off her glasses as she quietly took in all of the information streaming through the system. Suddenly, a pattern emerged. She spoke with a commanding tone the techs had not heard before. "We must leave this room. Now." Parse was last through the door and looked back, already knowing what she would see. Or not see, rather. The security station was gone, and the door now led to a precipitous drop. The comms came alive with Bunker barking orders, Unity swearing vengeance on whoever did this to her. Parse took a breath and steeled herself for the fight. This one-shot requires Mini-Pack 1, Wrath of the Cosmos, and Vengeance. So this is Challenge Deadline against Parse, Termi-Nation Absolute Zero, Termi-Nation Unity, and Termi-Nation Bunker in Freedom Tower. I have not played Challenge Mode Deadline. Not really played Deadline too much. So this will be interesting. Let's see what we have in store. It is with great regret that I destroy your civilization, humans. It is the only way. I see through you. Your weaknesses are all too visible. Alright. Parse starts with an impossible shot, a quick calculation, a segmentation fault, and updated intel. Termi-Nation Absolute Zero starts with a cryo chamber, impale, modular realignment, and thermal shockwave. Termi-Nation Unity starts with a B-bot, champion bot, flash forge, and platform bot. And Termi-Nation Bunker starts with an auxiliary power source, grenade launcher, heavy plating, and turret mode. So Deadline. Villain, Radical Peacemonger. Setup. At the start of the game, Deadline enters play Radical Peacemonger side up. Atomic Endglaive is put into play. The villain deck is shuffled. Gameplay. At the end of the villain turn, if there are 3 or more catastrophe cards in play, Deadline flips. Otherwise, the top card of the villain deck is played. Challenge. Endling Workmanship. Villain device cards are indestructible. So you can't destroy devices in this game. And Atomic Endglaive is a device, so its text is permanent. Device. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the highest HP 3 energy damage. Each round, we're going to have 3 energy damage to the hero target with the highest HP. As far as his devices go, this is not really the biggest issue, but we can't destroy it, so I have to focus on Deadline, and you can see he has a bunch of other devices. Actually, well, 3 other devices. And if they come out, we're going to have to live with them because there's no destroying them. If Deadline flips, he becomes Villain, Remorseful Eco-Vandal. Gameplay. At the start of the villain turn, if there are no catastrophe cards in play, Deadline flips. At the end of the villain turn, all environment cards are destroyed and the environment trash is shuffled into the environment deck. Then, all catastrophe cards are destroyed and Deadline deals each non-villain target X irreducible fire damage and removes the top X cards of the environment deck from the game, where X equals the number of catastrophe cards destroyed this turn. Then, if there are no cards in the environment deck, the heroes lose. Game over. So, his name is Deadline because we have a deadline. We have to beat him, first before we die, and second, before he removes all environment cards from the game. And remember, an environment deck has 15 cards in it, and he flips if there are 3 or more catastrophe cards in play. So when he flips this side, he removes at least 3 environment cards from the game. So that means that there will be at most 12 environment cards left the first time he flips. And then the second time he flips, there will be at most 9 cards left in the environment deck. And then the third time he flips, there will be at most 6 environment cards left in the deck. And this is all assuming that he doesn't play any more catastrophes out of turn, which some environments like Rook City might have him do. But, you know, if he removes all 15 environment cards, we lose. If we all lose our hit points, we lose. So you have to be careful. Alright, let's see what he has in store for us. His Atomic Endglaive that he always starts with. His first card play. Unnatural Disaster. One shot. Reveal the top 3 cards of the villain deck. Put all catastrophe cards revealed into play. Discard the other cards revealed this way. So 3 cards are being revealed, and if they're all catastrophes, he's going to flip right away. We have Calculated Orogenesis, Ongoing Catastrophe. At the start of the villain turn, play the top card of the environment deck. Then, that environment card deals each non-villain target 2 melee damage. All of his catastrophes act at the start of his turn, for the record. We have a second Calculated Orogenesis, and we have Severed Leyline. Oh, this is the third catastrophe, okay. Ongoing Catastrophe. At the start of the villain turn, each player shuffles their trash into their deck, and Deadline regains 2 HP. That doesn't matter, because we're at the end of his turn, he's flipped, and he's destroying these cards. So, right off the bat. So, here's the damage that's going through. There's nothing we can do about it. Absolute Zero likes the fire damage, but he doesn't have his thing. And he removed 3 cards and the damage. Alright. So it's really hard to see what cards are removed from the game. You can read here, environment cards out of game, Caspit's Playground, Entry Point, and Security Station. Security Station at least makes sense with the flavor text for this game. Caspit's Playground, I believe, is the card that says all ongoing cards, or all hero ongoing cards are also equipment cards now. And Entry Point we still have 3 copies of. And it's, well, if it comes into play, we'll read it. But that one's still in play. I don't remember what Security Station is. That might be the one that says at the start of your turn, or at the start of the environment turn, a player may discard their hand to destroy an environment card. But, whatever. Alright, so we have Parse here, and Parse is very, very good at manipulating decks. She's also very good at discarding cards. We have a card that can deal damage and draw a card. We have a card that can get a lot of cards in her hand. A card that would let her destroy an ongoing or environment card, which not just might, but will come in handy for destroying catastrophes. All catastrophes are ongoing cards, and if we destroy the catastrophes, we can at least postpone his flipping, or at least reduce the ability of his flippage, or not the potency of his flippage. And an updated intel that works super well in Vengeance, but is slightly less effective in a normal standard game, because there's only 1 villain card per turn, usually, or per round. Lots of interesting things here. I'm sort of inclined to play updated intel just so we could perhaps control Deadline a little bit. Not that we have to necessarily do this on Deadline. We can look at the bottom card of any deck, but if we look at the bottom card of Deadline's deck, we might be able to like manipulate his deck for a bit. However, once we know what the bottom card of his deck is, and we know it's a bad card, we don't really need to use that anymore. Instead, I think I want to try to look for one of her other cards that let her manipulate decks far more potently. So let's do a quick calculation. We get a Buffer Overflow, which is a really good card. We have another Impossible Shot, and we have a Critical Multiplier, which is another really great card. So we have 2 really great cards and a good card. So let's lose the good card and put the other 2 in my hand. And I might as well use the power to deal 2 projectile damage, and we could damage the Atomic Endglaive, which is indestructible. So instead we're going to target Deadline and proceed with the game. Parse draws an Exploit Vulnerability. This card is normally a great card, because being able to increase damage dealt to targets by 1, especially when they're non-hero targets, is great. However, the only non-hero targets in this game, the environment has no targets. Deadline's targets are indestructible, so this card's not 100% useful. Yeah, all of his targets are devices, so. Alright, we have Termi-Nation Absolute Zero, and here there's a bit of, you might be very well tempted to, like, play Impale. I mean, we could play Impale. We can always just play Impale. The other cards, like Cryo Chamber, doesn't really have an immediate purpose, and it's not like the fire damage reduction to Absolute Zero would save him from the irreducible fire damage that Deadline has. Modular Realignment, there's nothing in his trash, and then there's damage dealing to no effect. And then there's Thermal Shockwave, which is great when he has his modules. It's only slightly less good when he doesn't have his modules. Maybe like Impale might be the play, But with Termi-Nation Absolute Zero, his base power says, until the end of your next turn, increase all damage dealt to and by Absolute Zero by 2. This is a super risky power that you don't just want to use willy-nilly. Unlike a lot of standard base powers, which are sort of like generic, like deal 1 target 2 projectile damage. This is increase all damage dealt to and by Absolute Zero by 2. It's like Mr. Fixer's I don't even remember the name of the card. Bloody Knuckles, that's what it is. It's like his Bloody Knuckles, but you can benefit from them more than just using a power. But we don't really have like a reason to have damage dealt to Absolute Zero being increased at the moment, and increasing Absolute Zero's damage for next turn might be cool, but we don't have like a real reason to benefit from that. So I don't think we're going to use his power this turn, but we could put out Impale, I guess. And we could at least have consistent damage dealing 2 deadlines. So yeah, I guess we'll just do that. I was considering skipping twice and letting Absolute Zero draw 2 more cards in hopes of getting his module cards faster, but Impale at least will do automatic damage dealing so that next turn, if we still don't have a module, we can still skip twice. I don't want to use his power though, so we're going to skip this. And we draw Frostbound Drain, which is not a module. It is a good damage dealer, not a module. Alright, now we're on Termi-Nation Unity. So if you've never played Termi-Nation Unity, and by the way, there are all 3 Termi-Nation characters here if you've never seen them before. Termi-Nation Unity's power: destroy a mechanical golem, then shuffle it into your deck. Move a mechanical golem from your trash into play. You may draw a card. So this is an interesting power because all 3 of those sentences are independent of each other. If there are no mechanical golems in play, you can still move a golem from trash into play and you may still draw a card. If you don't have a golem in your trash to put into play, you'll still destroy a golem and shuffle it into your deck and you'll still draw a card. If neither of those 2 are true, you can still use this power to draw a card. However, there's a card in Unity's deck that combos really well with that power, and it's called Flash Forge. Because normally you would probably want to hold on to all of the golems in your hand, discard some number of cards to perhaps get construction pylons and whatever other golems you want, put them into your hand, and then you can start destroying construction pylons to get golems into play. But with Flash Forge, we can like start feeding Unity's trash with golems, especially since we have 3 golems right here. And so we could play Flash Forge and discard all 3 of these golems, and then use Reconfigure 3 times and get these 3 golems from her trash into play. Which could be exciting. And if I do Flash Forge and I discard these 3, I could get a Construction Pylon and any other 2 golems of my choice, like maybe Stealthbot and Swiftbot, which are my usual standard 2 golems. So that's probably what I'm going to do. So we'll get the Construction Pylon, we'll get Stealthbot, and we'll get Swiftbot. And we can't get them into play right now, but we can reconfigure. There's no golem to destroy, but we can put a golem into play. Let's get the damage dealer out. We draw a Platform Bot. That was the 3rd sentence. You may draw a card. And now on her draw phase, she draws a Construction Pylon. So we're probably not going to reconfigure for a while now, but we have now Construction Pylons. Alright, now Termi-Nation Bunker. So his base power, if you've never seen it before, destroy 1 of your ongoing or equipment cards. If you do, draw a card, play a card, and use a power in any order. So this one's interesting. There are some really great combos with this that I can think of, but I'm not sure that I'm going to use it straight away. Because, like, if I want to use it right now, I need to have something to destroy. So I could play any of these cards, but then I'd have to use this power right away, which says destroy it. So I could play one of these cards, and then destroy that card straight away. If I do, I could draw a card, play a card, and use a power. So I could draw a card first, which is probably the most logical step. Then I could, since I don't have any other power out here, play one of these cards, hopefully a power card, like Grenade Launcher, and then I could use the Grenade Launcher. Which doesn't really do much, like, other than, like, I could play Grenade Launcher and use Grenade Launcher, and we'll have sort of the same outcome, except I'll essentially be switching out one of these cards for a different one. So I don't really think that is a particularly exciting one. If I had a card I know I don't really need, like Auxiliary Power Source is one that is a little debatable, although it does have a really nice ability to use an additional power on the next round. But I generally like, you have to really get a set up bunker for it to be maximally effective. You can also just play this to use its power, of course. But I like Heavy Plating for damage reduction, although since some of Deadline's damage is irreducible, it's not really that great. And Turret Mode is obviously great once he has a bunch of powers and is all fully set up. So I don't really want to lose these cards. And Grenade Launcher, I mean, it's not as good as like Flak Cannon, but there's no guarantee that Flak Cannon is even in the top half of Bunker's deck, so it's at least a gun. So I don't really want to opt for Modulize. I want to opt for Grenade Launcher and use Grenade Launcher. Now, we could just hit Atomic Endglaive and, like, you know, even though he's indestructible, we could just, you know, hit him because whatever. But we do have to be mindful of several cards in the environment deck that might care for targets that are the lowest. Legacy's Landing Pad says reduce damage dealt to the target with the lowest HP by 1. That is currently Platform Bot, and Platform Bot would like that damage reduction. We don't want that to go to the Atomic Endglaive because he's indestructible. And that's basically it. Nothing else matters. But if we do get Legacy's Landing Pad, Deadline's damage would be increased by 1, but damage dealt to Platform Bot would be reduced by 1. So I don't really want to hit Atomic Endglaive because I don't want to mess with that. So there's no reason to hit anyone else with that. And Bunker draws a Recharge Mode, which is the card that he would have drawn had we used, like, Modulize. So it's not really a super exciting swap for any of these, but we could now, you know, play something to destroy Recharge Mode. Or not destroy Recharge Mode, but actually, yeah, we'd have to destroy Recharge Mode, which you can't with since Recharge Mode prevents him from using powers. Alright, entry point. Play this card on a room card. If there are no room cards in play, play the top card of the environment deck. Then, reshuffle this card into the environment deck. A card under this card has no game text. Increase damage dealt by villain targets by 1. So this card is not going to be effective. We have another entry point, so that is not effective. And actually, the text on that card, it's gone now, but the text on that card actually changed from its original version, from what I recall. Because it originally said, if there are no room cards in play, destroy this card and play the top card of the environment deck. Well, in this very setup against Deadline, say that we've proceeded to the point where the environment deck consists only of entry points. However many there are, 1, 2, 3, or 4. The game's not over, but, you know, you play entry point. Oh, there are no room cards, so we destroy entry point, and then we play the top card of the environment deck. Well, let's say there was only one card. It was an entry point. That card is destroyed. The environment deck is empty, so let's shuffle that entry point back into the environment deck and play the top card of the environment deck, which is, oh my gosh, entry point. So we destroy it and then shuffle it back into the deck and play an entry point. And yeah, it never ends. It's an infinite, endless loop, and it serves no purpose. It doesn't end the game. It's not bad to the heroes, but it's just never ending, and it's, yeah. So they changed it to mean that, you know, play the top card of the environment deck and then destroy this card or whatever, discard, whatever. Just so it's now in a meta phase, or not meta, but it's in the ether or whatever, the in-play ether thing. Whatever. Alright, for reals. The card that was played, the front desk, room. At the end of the environment turn, play the top card of the environment deck. So, environment deck plays Mission Control. Room. At the end of the environment deck, reveal the top card of each hero deck in turn order. If the revealed card is a one-shot or a limited card already in play, discard that card. Otherwise, put the revealed card into play. So, basically what this means is if we get an ongoing equipment or mechanical golem into, or if we reveal an equipment, ongoing, or mechanical golem, it gets put into play. Otherwise, you know, if it's matches a limited card that's in play, or if it's a one-shot, it's discarded. So this could be potent. That's a one-shot. Absolute Zero gets the Isothermic Transducer, so there's the module we wanted. Unity gets the Raptor Bot. It's a mechanical golem. And Bunker gets Auxiliary Power Source for free. So you could destroy it to use an additional power. Alright, so Deadline flips. And he plays Pandemonium Key, Device Relic. The first time an environment target enters play each turn, play the top card of the villain deck. Bad news, this is a device, it's indestructible. Good news, there are no environment targets in this deck, so this is a useless card. If you were playing in, like, Enclave of the Endlings, or Final Wasteland, this would be pretty annoying, especially if Deadline has flipped and an environment target enters play, which makes Deadline play a Catastrophe and he stays on his flipped side. So he couldn't flip, so instead he played a card, and he played Unleashed Hurricane. Ongoing Catastrophe. At the start of the villain turn, 2 players must put 1 card from hand on top of their deck. Then, Deadline deals the 2 non-villain targets with the highest HP 1 cold damage each. And then here's damage. Let's hit Parse with this, so that Bunker might have damage reduction later. Since this damage is not irreducible, it is reducible. If Bunker gets his heavy plating out, that would reduce this damage by 1. But it is a catastrophe. Deadline flips if there are 3 or more catastrophes in play. He has 1, but he could do another terrible combo where he plays a natural disaster and reveals 2 or 3 catastrophes which get put into play, and then he flips. So one way we could get around that is by playing Segmentation Fault, which will let Parse discard a card to destroy an ongoing card. We could also play Buffer Overflow, and we could utilize that to control what to control, or to rather just stop him from playing that 1 card. We don't have ongoing destruction other than that. We would if we had a B-bot to destroy, but we don't. So I'm going to opt for safety. Keeping this game going as long as we can is to our benefit. Or rather, not keeping it going as long as we can. Keeping it going as long as we can is a bad idea. But rather, stopping him from flipping as long as we can will at least let the game last longer. So we shall discard a card, and the card that we shall discard is Exploit Vulnerability, since it's not going to be useful in this game. It could only serve as ongoing fodder, and we shall destroy that Hurricane. And Parse draws a quick calculation. And that went off. Alright, so if I had used Violent Shivers on the previous turn, Absolute Zero was not dealt damage at all, so it would have been safe. But we got the Isothermic Transducer unexpectedly, so we could have played Frostbound Drain. And this would have led to an awesome combination of damage dealing, because that 3 cold damage and 3 fire damage each get increased by 2, since Absolute Zero is dealing it. So first he would deal 5 cold damage to a non-hero target. Then secondly, he would deal himself 5 fire, except damage dealt to himself is increased by 2, so that 5 would become 7. And then since he's being dealt fire damage, the transducer goes off and he can deal 7 cold damage to someone, except that then gets increased by 2. So it becomes 9 cold damage to Deadline. So that would have been an awesome combo, but we weren't planning on it, so that's fine. But what we could do is play Thermal Shockwave. We've been dealt 2 cold damage this turn, so he's already going to be dealing himself 2 fire damage, which will transmute to 2 cold damage. But if we deal 1 cold to Deadline, that's another amount of cold, so he deals himself 3 fire, which will let him hit Deadline for 3. So that doubles the amount of damage that we could do to Deadline with Thermal Shockwave. And really, I don't really want to try to use Violent Shivers unless I know, like, I have HP recovery methods, and currently we don't. So I'm going to go ahead and do the safer, quote-unquote, approach. This will hit absolute 0 for 3, but we'll have hit deadline for 9. Or, not 9, 4. 4 total, rather. Absolute 0 draws a focused apertures, which will power up Impale, as well as Thermal Shockwave. Alright, well. Now that Raptorbot was unexpectedly put out, but he's still alive, which is good, we now want to be able to protect him, which involves getting Stealthbot out. Generally, Stealthbot is a great way of keeping Raptorbot in play, since Raptorbot has only 2 hit points and no damage reduction. In exchange, he has high damage dealing potential. And we do have 2 construction pylons. And we have these 2 golems that we drew from Flash Forge that we would like to get out. So we might as well use the construction pylon and do that. There's no real reason to destroy these golems. We could get, like, you know, geez, I can't remember his name. Well, I'll just look in the trash. Modular Workbench and Volatile Parts are drawn. So the card I was thinking of was Champion Bot. I could have done it to get Champion Bot in play. I could have also done it to get B Bot in play. At the expense of destroying a golem and shuffling it into my trash. But instead, I opted for some protection to some hero targets and extra card plays and card draws, which Unity loves. And we have a Platform Bot, no reason to hit the devices, and a Raptor Bot that's already doing 5 melee damage, which is great. And now Bunker. So if I destroy Auxiliary Power Source, Bunker can use an additional power on his turn. That will require him to have another power available to him if he wants to make maximum effectiveness. We do have 2 powers. But here's something that I will do instead. Here's a possible combination here. I could destroy Auxiliary Power Source right now, just so I can use an additional power. But I'm going to say no. Instead, I'm going to play Heavy Plating. And now for my power, I'm going to use Modulize to destroy one of my ongoing or equipment cards, such as Auxiliary Power Source. So Auxiliary Power Source has been destroyed, and one of the side effects, because I use it as Modulize, is that I may use a power. So I'm just going to start with draw a card, in case I got something exciting. I get Gatling Gun, which isn't really what I was hoping to get. But now I may use a power, so I shall use Grenade Launcher. It's still the best power I have. No reason to hit anyone else with this. And now I may play a card. So Recharge Mode. This card says you cannot play cards or use powers, but you may draw an additional card during your draw phase. Normally, you play this card during your play phase, and then you skip your power phase because you can't use powers, and then you get to draw 2 cards at the end of your turn. But this is my power phase, and I've already used my powers. I'm still in the middle of draw a card, play a card, and use a power in any order. I've already drawn a card. I've already used a power. If I play Recharge Mode, not only do I get to draw an additional card at the end of my turn, but damage dealt to Bunker will be reduced by 1 in addition to Heavy Plating, which reduces damage dealt to Bunker by 1. So Bunker will be a pretty good shield. So you shall play Recharge Mode to no negative effect. And he draws a Recharge Mode and an ammo drop. So that is an example of a great combo. Alright, environment plays Training Simulator. Room. At the start of the environment turn, move a villain target from the villain trash into play. There are no targets in the trash, so it's not going to do anything, but it does act at the start, so it doesn't really matter. Front Desk plays an entry point, and this will go on a room card. And this will increase damage dealt by villain targets by 1. Let's see. Mission Control has not gone off yet, and that card will be useful for our purposes. Training Simulator well, it has no effect, but front desk is having an effect, and it's playing extra environment cards, which some of them are useful and some of them are entry point. So I think I'm going to cover the front desk. So one shot was revealed and discarded. Absolute Zero plays a focused apertures, so the next impale will be increased. hasty augmentation and ammo drop for free. So 2 extra card plays. Deadline plays Severed Ley Line, Ongoing Catastrophe. At the start of the villain turn, each player shuffles their trash. Oh, I already read this. This is one of the first ones. Shuffles their trash and he regains HP. And he plays the Ataxia Sphere, Device Relic. At the end of the villain turn, this card deals the hero target with the lowest HP 2 infernal damage. If a hero character card is dealt damage this way, that hero's player must either discard 1 card or shuffle their trash into their deck. So Bunker does not need to redirect. He has 2 damage reductions. And Raptorbot would be destroyed by this, but Stealthbot would survive. And a hero character card was not dealt damage this way. But yeah, Ataxia Sphere is also permanent now. We're getting all of these devices, and these effects will be permanent. So it's good that we had that Stealthbot to save Raptorbot. But we do have another catastrophe, so we're probably going to utilize Segmentation Fault again, just because it's easy to just try to keep catastrophes out of play. And although it's not going to, like, you know, we could deal 2 damage to Deadline instead, but the Severed Ley Line, Deadline will regain 2 hit points, so that damage will be negated. So instead, if I just destroy it, we lose the HP recovery, which is a little better. Because we're also not going to shuffle our trashes into our decks. So if I'm going to discard a card, I probably want to get a critical multiplier out, because this will increase the next damage dealt by a selected target by 1. So I shall do that. And now Segmentation Fault, discard a card. We want to keep the buffer overflow. That's going to be good prevention later. We want, well, Impossible Shot's just okay. This will help get Parse cards, and this will be some ability of deck manipulation. I said this is actually not as strong in a solo game, but Deadline is playing 2 cards on his front side, so we will be able to look at the bottom card of 2 decks, or 2 bottom cards of a deck if we decide to look at the same deck. And we move the bottom card the first time. So I think we shall ditch the Impossible Shot. And the next damage dealt by a target will be increased by 1. It doesn't really matter who does it, but Absolute Zeros will go off right away, so at least we could do him. And we can destroy the Severed Ley Line. Bunker draws the maintenance unit. And Parse draws Recompile. This card is really great with a critical multiplier. You discard 3 cards, but then you profit cards still. Alrighty. We still don't have HP recovery. But I could get the Cryo Chamber out. This will reduce Absolute Zero's fire damage dealing to himself, but it will at least stop Thermal Shockwave from killing him. He's dealt 4 damage this turn already. And we do want to use this. It's really good damage dealing. We're just going to hope and pray we get that cold damage ability at some point. I want to save Frostbound Drain for after I've used Violent Shivers. And Modular Realignment still has no purpose. So let's Cryo Chamber it up. And let's Thermal Shockwave it up. Now I could hit devices if I wanted to increase Absolute Zero's total cold damage, but I'm not, because I don't want Absolute Zero to kill him. I could redirect just the Stealthbot and kill a Stealthbot, but I won't. Because this is still a good amount of cold damage to Deadline. We've already reduced his HP by half, I think. And he draws an onboard module installation, which is great, because now he can get the cold module. Alright. Unity has 2 cards to play. And if we want to recompile, we're going to have to destroy a Mechanical Golem. Which I don't really want to do. But, like, if we expected Stealthbot to die, like, too soon, then we could do that. and get Champion Bot out instead, but we could also get B-Bot out, but I don't want to sacrifice these bots. The Raptor Bot and the Platform Bot are great. I want to get that Platform Bot in my hand out, is what I want to do. Because that will not just do extra damage, but it will power up Raptor Bot even more. So it seems like the only way I can really do that is via Modular Workbench. But that requires me to discard a card, so I have to have a card to discard. Volatile Parts is usually nice, because it's free damage when a golem is destroyed, and it combos well with her base power, because she'll destroy a golem and then deal 2 fire damage to the non-hero target with the lowest HP, but those are currently devices, which are indestructible, so it's not really super useful. So I'll put the Modular Workbench out, and I'm going to discard the Volatile Parts for the Platform Bot, but I do have another card play, so I could get the Construction Pylon out, and so I shall. And now I'm going to discard Volatile Parts to get Platform Bot out. And Unity draws a Powered Shockwave and a B-Bot. And then the Platform Bot goes off, and the Raptor Bot goes off. And the Platform Bot goes off, and Unity just did 12 damage in 1 turn. Alright, if I don't destroy Recharge Mode, Bunker can't play cards. And he has another Recharge Mode in hand. So we could get it back if we wanted. So let's destroy Recharge Mode. That is a mode that we could potentially want to destroy with Modulize, but we can't. Because you can't use powers. So if I want to do the same sort of trick as last time, I'd have to play something to destroy it. And then get Recharge Mode back out. But I don't really need to. I think instead, I want to get Gatling Gun out. Yes, I'll get Gatling Gun out. And I don't need to destroy any of these cards, do I? I could destroy Ammo Drop, I guess. That'd be a little silly, though. Yeah, I'll just keep these cards, and I'll hit Deadline. And nothing else. Bunker draws another Ammo Drop. I don't need all those Ammo Drops. Alright. Medical Ward. Room. At the start of the environment turn, each target regains 1 HP. Mission Control, we get Gauge. That's a deck manipulating card. One shot. B-Bot. Good. And Flak Cannon. Excellent. Deadline plays Unleashed Hurricane. Okay. He also plays Magnetic Pole Shift. Ongoing Catastrophe. At the start of the villain turn, discard the top 2 cards of each non-villain deck and destroy 2 hero ongoing and/or equipment cards. Let's hit Bunker with this since he's higher. And I could let the Ataxia Sphere destroy B-Bot. This is 3 Infernal, right? Because it's initially 2, but it's increased by 1. Stealthbot would survive this. I think we want to keep Stealthbot in play. Or not Stealthbot. We want to keep B-Bot in play. I could destroy B-Bot and destroy an ongoing card, but I think we have a lot of damage potential coming up. So let's redirect it and keep B-Bot alive. And let's just try to do as much damage as we can. And one of the best ways of doing as much damage as we can is to utilize Critical Multiplier. So let's recompile, because I can discard these 3 cards, and each of these could select a target and increase the next damage dealt by that target. I have to be really careful with how I do this, though, if I want to do it the way I want to. Let's see, Absolute Zero is currently going to do 3 cold damage to Deadline. And if he does cold damage here, he's going to do 2. So he's going to deal himself 5 fire, reduced by 1 by Cryo Chamber, so that's 4 fire. So he can do 10 points of extra cold damage without worry. So I should be able to pass those off and use Frostbound Drain on himself. This will do another 4, and then he'll deal himself 2 to deal 3, so it's going to be 7. So actually I don't want Absolute Zero to take too much, but I should be able to survive if I give him 2. If I mathed correctly. If I didn't math correctly, it's fine. The last one we can just throw out a Raptor Bot, because Raptor Bot will do a big hit. And Parse is going to draw 6 cards. She draws a Snap Decision, a Data Mining, a Critical Multiplier, a Gauge, a Syntactic Analysis, and Reveal the Flaws. And that's all the card plays she could do, but she can still deal 2 damage. And she draws Data Mining. Absolute Zero now deals 5 cold damage. So Thermal Shockwave, he has dealt 5 cold damage this turn. Might as well play Onboard Module, because he draws a Field Freeze. That's interesting. And let's get that Null Point in hand. It's not actually going to be used, but it's in hand. I could play Field Freeze, and I can destroy Unleashed Hurricane and Magnetic Pole Shift, and probably just like Segmentation Vault. Destroy 3 ongoing cards, and then he'll deal each non-hero target 3 + 1 cold damage. That's 4 cold damage, and there are 4 targets to hit with this, so we'll do 16 cold damage, which will really make Thermal Shockwave lethal. But let's see, he's dealt 5 cold, so with Frostbound Drain, yeah, with Frostbound Drain, he can deal this damage to Deadline, and then he deals himself. I don't want to redirect that. I can redirect, I can do the cold to Deadline. So now Thermal Shockwave says, Absolute Zero has dealt 12 cold damage this turn. So actually I did math this wrong, because I intended on hitting Deadline with a cold damage. But currently he will be able to hit himself, as long as he doesn't deal any cold damage to anyone. So we're going to stop. And we're going to deal the 11 to himself. He's at 1 hit point, but now he can do 12 cold damage to Deadline. He's down to 5. Absolute Zero draws an Isothermic Transducer, and Unity wins the game. I was hoping to get a super powered Raptor Bot, but Unity is fine. Unity's okay with this. Unity can win the game herself. And that's the mint. With Absolute Zero at 1 hit point. Unfortunately, we did not utilize Violent Shivers in this game, but it has some really great combinations. Violent Shivers with Cold Snap is really deadly to every non-hero target. Violent Shivers with Impales is super good. Violent Shivers with anything that hits Absolute Zero is great as long as Absolute Zero can survive. Or rather, whenever Absolute Zero hits himself for fire damage, it's really great because it's doubly great as long as Absolute Zero can survive. We didn't really get that well set up for that though, unless I decided to take a risky approach and decided to, you know, play Frostbound Drain earlier. Like if I had done Violent Shivers on turn 1, which we knew we weren't going to get hit on, or we found out later we weren't going to be hit by anything by the end of that turn, or by the start of turn 2, we could have then used Frostbound Drain to maximum damage. 5 cold to Deadline, 7 fire to Absolute Zero, 9 cold to Deadline, 14 damage in 1 turn, but we didn't get to utilize that. But we did at least get to showcase Termi-Nation Unity and Termi-Nation Bunker's awesome combinations. I guess we only used Unity's power once at the start of the game, but I don't know, it might have been better to have gotten that Champion Bot in play at that 1 turn, who knows. Bunker, at least we got that nice combination where we finished with a recharge mode, which is not normally a card you finish with, because you normally play it during your draw phase and you have to skip your power at that point, but at least we got to, you know, play it with no penalty and get extra cards and less damage, which didn't really get, well, I guess it did get utilized. Alright, very short one-shot. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully, I mean, this is actually done on Sunday evening, so there's like 24 hours left of its availability. By the time this is on YouTube, it'll probably be like 20 hours, but hopefully you enjoyed it, or will enjoy it if you're waiting until the last minute, or if you're not if you're doing this after the one-shot is expired and you're going for the fine cover, hopefully you know, have a good time with it. Doesn't seem like it's too bad. The device indestructibility sort of forces you to focus on deadline because there's no point in hitting the devices, period. And the environment didn't really hurt us, it helped us a lot. The entry point did hurt us a bit, but oh well. Regardless, that's it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like my style of Sentinels of the Multiverse videos, be sure to check me out on the Handelabra Games channel. I stream Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, where I try to play like this, strategically minded, discussing all of the cards, combinations, and possible plays through each round. We've done 3 of these so far, so the 4th one is this coming Thursday. Be sure to catch that out at twitch.tv/HandelabraGames. Otherwise, I will see you next week for the next one-shot. Good night.